Ekasana karuna sindhu Dina bandhu jagatapote Gopisha gopika kanta Radha kanda namostute Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya namo namah Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavan Ishwari Vrishabhanu Shuddha Devi Prananami Hari Priye Bhaktya Bhina Aparara Lakshaya Chiptaskat Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Brapana Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam. Offering first my Dandavat Pranams, Sat Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, millions of times. Similarly, at the lotus feet of my Sannyas Guru, Siksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, millions of times. All of the Siksha Gurus who have touched the heart and inspired this fallen soul on the path of bhakti, particularly Srila Gaura Govinda Swami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shira Maharaj, and Srila Pramod Puri Maharaj. Offering Dandavat Pranams to all those who have taken the trouble and time to come to the Sri Radha Govinda Gaudiya Matha today. And offering Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas who may in the future come to this sacred spot, inaugurated initially by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. So, today we'll speak on the 13th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, concerning Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra quitting his home or his palace. So before doing, we'll offer our pranams to Srimad Bhagavatam. Ashtaparashu Bhadarashu Nityam Bhagavata Shevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Krishna Swadavo Pagate Dharma Gyana Bisaha Kalo Nasham Dishimasha Puranoko Danotitaha Shendvatam Sukata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Redyanstahi Abhadrani Virunoti Surit Satam Aho Bhagyam, Aho Bhagyam, Aho Bhagyam Nanda Gopala Jokisham Yamitram Paramanandam Purna Brahma Shanatanam. Okay, everybody repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sutta Goswami said. So this is quoting Sutta Goswami, who heard from Shukadeva Goswami. So this is the process. Hearing and repeating. Whatever we hear, we should repeat perfectly without any change or any adjustment, except according to the time and place. One may speak in a different language. One may have to speak in terms of the audience and their ability to understand. But essentially, one should speak Bhagavatam exactly as he has heard it from authorities like Sutta Goswami and Shukadeva Goswami. So, Sutta Goswami says, while traveling on pilgrimage, Vidura received knowledge of the destination of the self from the great sage Maitreya, and then returned to Hastinapur. He became as well versed in the subject as he desired. So here we have Vidura. Who is Vidura? You know who is Vidura? Dhritarashtra's brother. And Dhritarashtra's other brother was Pandu. 3 brothers, right? Pandu, Dhritarashtra, and Vidura. And who is their father? Father is Vedavyas. So Vedavyas could beget children in the wives of Vachitra, who was the king, but had left the world. Therefore, the responsibility for continuing the dynasty was put on the lap of Vedavyas, who was an incarnation of Krishna, Shaktivesh, empowered to divide the Vedas and present the Vedas in such a way that people can understand them properly. His guru was Narad Muni, and Narad Muni, everyone knows, is the son of Brahma. In this universe, our Brahma has 4 heads. In other universes, he may have 100 heads. In some universes, 1,000 heads. In some universes, 10,000 heads. Is it conceivable? Whatever the Lord says is perfectly acceptable, because the devotees are always surrendered to the words imparted by Shri Hari. Whatever comes from the mouth of Krishna is perfect. And whatever is repeated in disciplic line from him, in this lineage of parampara, is also perfect, as long as nobody changes anything. So this is the process. If we hear from somebody who has changed what has come from Krishna, what has come from Vyasadeva, what has come from Sutta Goswami or Sukadeva Goswami, then everything becomes useless. So we should only repeat and hear exactly what we have heard. All right, so Vidura, Pandu, Dhritarashtra were brothers. And we know that Pandu died early and left his sons with the kingdom. But because they were not grown up, Bhishma decided that the ruling throne position should be given to Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra was given the rulership, but he was blind from birth, could not see. And we know his wife Gandhari also accepted a cloth over her eyes and accepted blindness as well. So Vidura was enlightened by discussions with Maitreya Muni. Maitreya Muni, like Uddhava, directly heard from Krishna. Like Arjuna also. Arjuna, Uddhava, Maitreya, directly heard from Bhagavan, the absolute truth. So, our position is that we should also hear the absolute truth from somebody who has heard from Bhagavan, from Krishna. So that is why we hold this sampradaya as so holy, because each guru in succession has embraced the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in a direct lineage going back to Krishna. Therefore, this knowledge is absolute. There is no fault or error as long as it is delivered perfectly. All right. So Vidura was blessed by Maitreya's association. He returned to the palace in Hastinapur. Of course, we know there was some very nefarious activities on the part of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, his elder son. Because although they mention that they would share the kingdom with the Pandavas, their whole plot was to kill the Pandavas, to get rid of the Pandavas so they could rule the kingdom themselves. So what does this have to do with us? We are devotees of Krishna. Whatever has relationship with Krishna is perfect. We want to hear about it. Because whatever Krishna thinks, whatever Krishna does, we want to hold that into our heart and remember it forever. So when we hear Hari-katha from a bona fide devotee who is a lover of Krishna, then those words affect the heart. If we heard from somebody who is not a devotee, then those words cannot affect the heart. So we should hear only from devotees of Krishna, not from anybody who is a non-devotee or just a scholar or somebody who is speaking but not actually practicing Krishna Bhakti. Okay, so now to continue. When Vidura came back to the palace, Maharaja Yudhisthira, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjay, Kripacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Drupadi, Shubhadra, Uttara, Kripi, and many other of the wives of the Kauravas, and other ladies and children all hurried with great delight, just like they had regained their consciousness after a long period. With great delight, they all approached Vidura as if life had come back to their body. They exchanged welcome obeisances and embraces. And due to anxiety, after long separation, they cried out of affection. So these are the symptoms of persons who have become instilled by the mercy of a sadhu. What is the greatest pain? The greatest pain. Ramananda Roy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were discussing on the banks of the Godavari River 500 years ago in India. And when Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda, what is the greatest pain? Ramananda Roy said the greatest pain is separation from a Shuddha Vaishnava, a Shuddha Bhakta. I know no other pain greater than this. So when a Vaishnava comes, Shuddha Bhakta, everything becomes a great delight. Just like here when Vidura is coming back to Hastinapur. Everybody was filled with delight. Oh, Vidura has come back. Just like 40 years ago when we were with Swami Prabhupada. When he would come to the temple, everybody would become so enlivened, so happy. Hey, Prabhupada is here, Prabhupada is here. And the temple was like completely in the spiritual world. There was nothing except service to Shri Guru, Shri Vaishnava. And similarly, for those who've met and served Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, the same feeling, the same bhav, ecstasy was there. Oh, Gurudev is coming, Gurudev is here. And everybody was, on a different level of consciousness. The same thing was there in the palace in Hastinapur when Shivadura came back after having been with Maitreya. So this actually is the root of bhakti. Sangha, sadhu sangha, with a pure Shuddha Bhakta. It instills from the heart of the Bhakta into your heart an electric generation of consciousness that sprouts immediately bhakti in the heart. So everyone feels so enlivened when the Shuddha Bhakta comes and grants his darshan and accepts service, even the littlest service. And people become enlivened to do so much service. This is the quality of a Shuddha Bhakta. They draw out the service from your heart. I have many experiences and many devotees who did wonderful things under the guidance of a Shuddha Bhakta. I was hearing today one story. It was in New York, maybe 40 years ago. So, our Gurudev Prabhupada said, in America, there are two very important cities. Any idea what those cities were? Number one, New York. Number two, Washington, D.C. So, Prabhupada wanted to have he wanted Rath Yatra in all the major cities of the world. He said if Rath Yatra can be conducted in all the major cities of the world regularly, it will create Jai Shri Radha Govinda, Jai Shri Gaurnita, Jai Sitaram Hanuman Lakshman, Jai Giraj. If we can carry out Rath Yatra in all the major cities of the world, it will revolutionize this country. It is such a dynamic festival. So, Prabhupada was in India, my Bhaktivedanta Swami, and he made a call to New York City. Maybe this is 1974 or 5. He said on the phone, you were in New York, really? 76. Oh. Wow, just see. Good. So Prabhupada, he called, I don't know whether New Delhi or from Bombay, he said on the phone to the devotees, did you get the permit? Did you get the permit for Rath Yatra? So getting a permit in New York from the mayor's office is not very easy. Plus, the mayor of New York in that time, he made an edict. No more parades in New York City, especially down Fifth Avenue. The most important street in New York is Fifth Avenue. And Prabhupada, where did he want the Rath Yatra? Fifth Avenue. So he called on the phone. He wanted to know, did they get the permit? So this devotee, he knew, if I'm going to please my spiritual master, I got to get this permit for Rath Yatra. And I know the mayor does not want any more parades in New York. So he went to the police, and the police, they gave him an application to fill out again, and so much time, and he had to do everything very quickly to get everything ready and get the permit. So they said, we'll send the application down to the main mayor's office. So this devotee said, no, I would like to take it myself. So the police said, all right, if you want, you can take it. So he took the application down to the city hall where the mayor was, and then the secretary was there. But before you can get the secretary, there's so much security. Like, I don't know if anybody's been to the mayor's office in Houston, but they're always going to check and have you screened, and then finally you can see the secretary. So this devotee goes to see the secretary. He gives her the application, says, yes, I would like to give this to the mayor. So the secretary looks at the application, and she looks up. She said, there's no way the mayor's going to sign this. Don't you know there's an edict? No more parades in New York City. So what did the devotee do? He said, yes, I know. So between the secretary and the mayor's door, there was a turnstile, you had to go through. This devotee, inspired by Krishna in the heart, took the application and he jumped over this turnstile and he went right into the mayor's office. And the mayor was sitting behind his desk, and he put it right on his desk. He said, Mayor, please, we need your signature on this permit. We want to do Ratha Yatra in New York. So the mayor looked up, and he was so surprised. This person had come in the office like this, and he said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to sign your application. Krishna had done something in his heart, and that changed everything, because as soon as he signed that application, it opened up the doors for Ratha Yatra in New York City, down Fifth Avenue, every year. So I don't know if they had it this year yet in New York City, probably. But has anybody been to Ratha Yatra in New York City? Very nice festival. Main Street, Fifth Avenue. So this is the boon. If we can please a spiritual master somehow, we don't have to, we have to just simply, with our heart and soul, offer ourselves at his lotus feet and try to make him satisfied. So, in this way, all were happy to see Vidura come back to Hastinapur, and then Yudhisthira, he arranged for accommodation for and a reception for his dear uncle. So when you receive a devotee, of course, what do? You should arrange for his accommodation, just like when Gurudev came here. He stayed at Bimala's house, Tarun's house, so many houses. Subal stayed at your house also? Yeah. Because he stayed at your house in Santa Cruz or San Jose, right? So many here. We're fortunate to have Srila Gurudev stay in our house and to feed him, arrange for his sitting, sleeping, or resting. And so, same thing, in Hastinapur, Yudhisthira, the senior Pandava, is arranging for Vidura's accommodation, his food, and then, of course, to speak with him. And anyone who would, when he would speak, everyone would listen, what Vidura would say. Because he was a pure devotee, Shuddha Bhakta. So Yudhisthira said, my uncle, Vidura, do you remember how you always protected us, along with our mother, from all sorts of calamities? Your partiality, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson. While traveling on the surface of the earth, how did you maintain your livelihood? At which places did you render service? And then he said a very famous verse. Yudhisthira said to Vidura, Avadvidha Bhagavatas Chittabuddhi Swayam Vibhu Chittabanati Chittani Svanastena Gadabritaha. He said, Vidura, personalities like yourself are just like holy places personified, because you carry Krishna within your heart and you turn all places into pilgrimage places. Bhavadvida bhagavatas chitta buddha shayam vibhu chitta kurvanti chittani shvantastena gada britta. So this is the power of a Vaishnava. His presence turns mundane reality into a holy place of pilgrimage. So wherever their dust of their lotus feet settles, that place is worshipful. So, therefore, we should go to those places. Wherever Gurudev, wherever Prabhupada, wherever any great saint visited, those are very honorable places, and we can catch a hint, a scent of bhakti. And I'll tell you a personal story. Because Srila Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj, he stayed in a house, a very small house, in Berkeley, California. I think it's 96, 97. Very small house, very small room, but this, the owner gave the house to Gurudev, helped arrange cooking for him, and he stayed there, I think, 2 different occasions, 2 different years. So I met this person, and I said, Srila Gurudev, you know, he had some very special experiences in my house. And he mentioned it to me. And I didn't ask what those experiences were, but I knew something he might have felt some great bhav of ecstasy, because he was just beginning his preaching in the Western world. And Krishna was showering his mercy on him. Not Hari-katha, it was one Mataji, Kasturi. And she has a daughter, she was at Badger this year, and a grandson named Haridas, but it was her house. So whenever we talk about bhakti, we always emphasize the main thing is what? Chanting the holy name, right? Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam kalova nashteva nashteva gatirayata. In Kali Yuga, there's no other way except chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name to realize and understand the personality of Godhead. Not by yoga, not by karma, not by jnana, only Harinam. So, personally speaking, I was initiated in 1970 by a letter. In 1971, I met my Gurudev, Prabhupada, directly. He gave me Diksha. And I've been chanting ever since I met devotees in 70, 16 rounds every day without fail. And when I took sannyas, I increased it to 64 rounds every day. But anyway, I went to Kasturi's house with Ban Maharaj, you know Ban Maharaj from India. So I was driving him from Eugene to Berkeley or San Francisco. So we got to Kasturi's house, and we stayed there that night. And then the next morning, Maharaj was going to give a class. So around 6 o'clock in the morning, after we did Mangal Arti, I went to the room where Gurudev had stayed twice. And I just started chanting japa, you know, like we usually do. Took out my bead bag, and offered respects to the holy mala. And I was thumbing the beads, looking around the room, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. It goes on every day like this. But that day, that morning, because Gurudev stayed in that room, something overwhelmed my heart. I couldn't stop chanting. I mean, I can't express the feeling to you in words, but it was so divine, so wonderful, ecstatic. I never felt like that in my life, doing japa. I didn't want to stop. I said, I can do this forever. I was so blissful. I said, well, this is what the scripture's been saying all along, and now I'm experiencing it for myself. So then, at 7 o'clock, there was going to be a class, Ban Maharaj, and I thought, how can I stop chanting, and how can I go to the class? Because I don't want to make aparada, offend Maharaj, not to come his class. So my mind was having a big problem, because I was so blissed out, chanting the Mahamantra and receiving from that room such a powerful ecstasy. So I came to the conclusion, well, if I make offense to Maharaj, it's not good. And if I stop serving the holy name, that's also not good. Just like there was one story when Narottam Das Thakur took initiation from Lokanath Goswami in Vrindavan. At first, Lokanath didn't want any disciples, but one night he waited in the bushes to see who was cleaning up his stool, because at night he would pass stool, and Narottam would clean the whole area up with a broom every night. So Lokanath came out of the bushes and said, oh, it's you. You're cleaning here? And Narottam said, yes, my Gurudev, I am begging you for initiation. I want you as my Guru. I won't accept anybody else as my Guru. Please accept me. So Lokanath had made a vow, I will not take any disciple. But he had a change of heart. He said, all right, take a bath in the Jamuna, I'll give you Diksha. So Narottam, who wrote, so many songs in our songbook, which are just like Vedic Shastra, he took his bath, took Diksha, received the mala, and also began chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, every day. And one time, they were sitting together, and when they were chanting, a farmer came up, and the farmer said, I need water. Do you have any water? So Narottam said, sure. So he took his beads, and he put down his beads. He said, all right. And he went to get a bucket of water, and he brought it. He said, here we are. And after he gave them the bucket of water, and then his Guru Maharaj looked at him and said, you, out, leave Vrindavan. I don't want any disciple like you. And Narottam was completely flabbergasted, mortified. What? I have to leave Vrindavan? Leave your association? Yes, out. You are chanting the holy name, you are serving Radha and Krishna, and then you leave that service? This is not correct. So Narottam, he had to follow his guru's order. You can never disobey a guru, Maharaja's order, Guru Agya. So he left. Of course, we know later he came back and took more Siksha from Jiva Goswami and became one of the first book distributors in Krishna consciousness. But the principle was, when you're chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you're actually serving Radha and Krishna. You're engaging your tongue and your ears in their seva, distinctly pronouncing the words with love, engaging your heart and your emotions. It's a total experience. So, when I was in that situation, I didn't know whether to drop the service of Radha and Krishna or to serve Maharaj. So what do you do when you have a conflict? When you have a decision to make and you can't decide which one is correct? So I dropped the service of Radha and Krishna and I went to hear Maharaja's class. As I was bringing him in the van, I was driving. But I always remember how powerful that room was where our Gurudev had stayed, and the power of his presence, even though he had been there years ago, it was still there in that room. So, all right, Vidura's being received by everyone, and you know he had special affection for the Pandavas. When the Pandavas were told by Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana to take a vacation and go and live in a cottage which they had built especially for them, they didn't know that Duryodhana was going to set fire to that palace after they had stayed there a certain number of days. So Vidura dropped a hint in a kind of encrypted language that, watch out, this is going to be a big danger when you go to this village and stay in that house. So the Pandavas understood Vidura's encrypted words, and they began to make a tunnel outside the house. It took them so many days working and working. Finally, the tunnel was complete. Just before the day arrived, message was sent and told to, I think his name was Purandar, to set fire to the house at night. The same night, some guests had come with the same number of persons as the Pandavas, which were 5, plus the Mother Kunti, 6. The fire was set, the house was made out of shellac and touched with combustible materials. So the house immediately burnt down. But the Pandavas had taken their cue, they had left by the tunnel, and they were gone. So they were saved by Vidura. So they always remembered this, and Vidura was always their well-wisher. So Vaishnavas, their hearts are always like gold. They only want the best for everyone, that everyone should be happy in Krishna consciousness. Because material happiness is not possible. Only you can be happy in service to Sri Krishna. Because that is the nature of the Atma. Jivera Sarup Nitya Krishna Das. We're all eternal servants of Krishna constitutionally. It's there in every soul. So when a person is hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, serving Krishna, running any kind of seva, here in the temple, in your home, even when you're driving the car. The very first time I got the Maha Mantra on a card, I used to chant in my car. That's how I began. And how many people, drive every day, There was one doctor, I was living in Africa, in Lusaka. Lusaka is the capital of Zambia. So there's many Indians there. At that time, the dollar or the kwacha in Zambia was very strong. Also in Nigeria, the Nigerian naira was equal to the dollar. So many Indians in Nigeria, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe. So this one doctor, he had to see so many patients every day. Doctor, I got this, I got that. Can help me. He didn't give them an injection or something. But he said, I don't have time like you to chant. But when I go to work, I leave my house, I roll up the windows in the car, and from a house to the office, I chant the Maha Mantra as loud as I can. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. All the way he would go to the office like that. When he got to the office, he'd close the car and go and see the patients. So I thought that was funny. So, anyway, Vaishnavas, their hearts are like gold, and when you come in contact with them, your heart melts. So Vidura, he had such a rapport with all the Pandavas and all their associates, and so he would give Hari-katha, he would speak about Krishna, he would remember the times they had together. And ultimately, in this chapter, we don't have time, he came to deliver Dhritarashtra. Even though Dhritarashtra was trying to kill the Pandavas, still Vidura wanted to help him. And he said, my uncle, you are blind, your eyes can't see, now your ears can't hear properly, now your liver's going bad, now you can't walk properly. It's time to get out of the palace and go to the Himalayas and give up this body. He said, you are receiving food just like a dog from Bhima in the palace. How embarrassing. You have lost the war, you've lost all of your sons. It's time to become a first-class man and go to the forest and meditate and chant and remember. So maybe you know, Dhritarashtra actually saw the Virat Roop in the palace. So he had such a strong connection with Krishna, but he, because of the evil influence of his son, Duryodhana, his heart was turned the other way. So Vidura came back at him. So now your sons are dead. Go. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, he told his father, Hiranyakashipu, the same thing. My dear father, give up your attachment to this family life, go to the forest, and serve the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan. Otherwise, this household life is just like a deep, dark well. You'll never get out. So sometimes the sadhu, he will speak very sharp, very cutting words to break somebody away from their attachment to this material world. So Vidura said those words, and they went right into the heart of Dhritarashtra, and he took it up. He left the palace, and he was followed by his wife, Gandhari, and also Vidura, all three of them. They left together, they went to the Himalayas, and there they practiced full Krishna consciousness. So here in Houston, you could fly to India you can go to the holy places, and we recommend it, especially this time of year, Janmashtami, Radhastami, Julian Yatra, so many festivals in India. If you can't go, we're also going to celebrate them here, starting on Wednesday. Next Wednesday we start Julian Yatra, the swing festival. And then on the 10th, Baladev Purnima, and after that, 1 week, Shri Krishna Janmashtami. So we will, if you cannot go to Vrindavan, and everyone should know, Krishna was born in Gokul. His mother Yashoda, gave birth to him, cut the umbilical cord, everyone witnessed it. And then the Krishna who was brought from Mathura by Vasudeva Krishna was put next to Yashoda, and that merged with Krishna. And then the daughter who was given birth was taken back to the prison by Vasudeva. So anyway, this is a very special month, and if you want to go over and read this Leela, Srimad Bhagavatam, again it's chapter 13, Canto 1, Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted the Bhagavatam as Amala Puranam, the most perfect and pure of all the Vedic Puranas. So we're going to finish up here because we have Arti at 7 o'clock. If anybody would like to make any comments or any question, we have a few minutes. Yes? Yes. She's saying, when you are fully Krishna conscious, do you have knowledge of all the different situations in the universes? This is one universe, but there are unlimited material universes. So, anything and everything is revealed to the devotee through the medium of the heart. And perfect, because Krishna is everywhere. Krishna is in everything. He's the person who expands and enters into every universe. So whatever a devotee wishes to know, Krishna will reveal to him. So whatever is going on in some particular universe, Krishna can easily reveal that knowledge to the devotee if he cares to know what's going on. But this is, of course, Sankhya, knowledge of the universal situation, the elements, the modes of nature, which is essential to understand, but the essential thing in bhakti is actually the relationship with Krishna. What is revealed to the devotee is his eternal form, service, and nature, his name, so that once he realizes who he is, that personality can enter the next universe where Krishna will appear. So Krishna appeared in this universe 5,000 years ago. After he left, he went into another universe and displayed all of his pastimes, all of his leelas. So anyone here becomes fully Krishna conscious. Before you can go to the spiritual world, Goloka, Vrindavan, you will be given birth in the womb of a gopi, be trained up, and serve Krishna, and then in the next life you can go directly back to Krishna. Okay? Thank you very much. Vanshikapatrascha Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Paritanam Bhavane Vaishnavivo Namo Namaha.